Hello, welcome back to another day in the arena and another day in the life and adventures and trying times of young CGB. How you doing? I believe we're on day 4, and today the Brewer's Delight is gone. The Quick Singleton has returned. What is Quick Singleton? It says, you do to constructed deck. Decks can only have one copy of any card besides basic lands. So, only one copy of any card besides basic lands. Oh boy. So I built a deck for it. It's actually not hard to make some interesting Singleton decks with the starting collection that you get right now. Remember, we've opened a couple of packs and we've earned some card rewards, so there might be a few cards here that you, if you're trying to copy this deck, may have to craft, but you don't have to craft them. I would just replace them with another card of a similar casting cost that does something awesome that you want to try out. An example of such a card, I'm confident I opened this from a pack, is Tezzeret Artifice Master. You could craft one of these if you wanted to. I don't think it's the strongest Planeswalker. I'm not here to recommend crafting it. I would just replace it with another card that costs 5 mana, is black, red, or blue, because we have a Grixis deck here, and does something cool that you want to do. A good example would probably be you could add... I said to craft something of about the same cost. We could step it up to a 6-drop, and we could add a Combustible Gearhulk or a Torrential Gearhulk. I don't think those are right in this deck for a few reasons. I'm not going to get into going over every single card in the deck because it's a very long list, but the primary thing I was looking for are artifacts and energy. If we can combine artifacts and energy, I thought I'd get the kind of list I want to play. Because what I want to do is use a few of the banned cards. Some cards have been banned in Standard for being too powerful, but they are legal to use in Singleton. One of these is Smuggler's Copter, which is an artifact, and the other is Aetherworks Marvel, which is an artifact that uses energy to get cards from the top of your deck directly into play. Now, we don't have a lot of huge hits off the Marvel. It's just kind of a value card I really want to play with. Aside from that, we tried to pick out a lot of other artifact cards or energy cards. Tezzeret the Schemer uses artifacts. Artifice Master. Actually, we got 3 Tezzerets, including the Master of Metal, who's also our little mascot up here. They all do things with artifacts. So this is a Grixis kind of artifact meddling Singleton deck. I just built it. I'm not sure if it's going to be as competitive as I want it to be, but it's my first take at it. And if you honestly are not sure how to build a Singleton deck and aren't interested in taking on the task yourself, I will encourage you. You should do it. It's fun, and there isn't a lot to lose. It is playing a game after all, my friends. We are just playing a game. But if you want to copy a Singleton deck to get right into gameplay, you can do it. I am giving you fair warning. I haven't tested this deck. It's just kind of a first draft of something I thought would be fun to play. All right. Let's go see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. So what will happen, and it's important that you know this, when you finish your Singleton deck, if it uses any of the banned cards, you will have this exclamation point, which will make you think that it is not finished. And no matter what you do, these banned cards, Aetherworks Marvel and Smuggler's Copter, will have this red 1 next to them, which will make you think you're doing something wrong and can't play the deck. When you initially hit done, like I built this deck before I started the stream, it will say this deck contains banned cards, and it will have like cancel or okay. You should still hit okay. Don't let it scare you. It like tilted me the first time. All right, now I'm gonna go, and you'll see that if I try to play this deck in free play, you can't select it at all. It makes you think it's gone. But if I switch over here to Singleton and hit Quick Singleton, and I go in here and I pay my gold, then where's my deck? There we go. 60 cards, 1 of everything, right? This could be tilting. Done. Home. Quick Singleton. Choose your deck. Maybe they enforce the ban list now. Let's try taking out the ban cards. They didn't have the ban list last time. They did not enforce it, which is going to bum me out because a lot of the reason that I was playing these specific cards was because of they were banned in Standard. But let's see what happens if we adjust the deck and if that lets us enter, because I think it's more important that we play games, and now I've paid for it. Well, you see it all here, my friends. You see the good, the bad, and the misplays. So hopefully you find it some kind of interesting. Is Panharmonicon a kind of card we want for the creatures? I mean, almost everything has enters the battlefield effects. Nearly everything does. Just trying to think of what the last card could be. A good way to search for cards for Singleton. Singleton, more than other formats, rewards you for playing very powerful cards. So if I search under my filters, I have my colors, then I add only to look at the rares and mythic rares. And I'm only going to look at 4, 5s, and 6s because I want higher curve cards because I cut a 4-drop. Let's see what we find. Mechanized Production's interesting. It works with artifacts, but I don't think it's a very good card. If the opponent blows up what you have mechanized produced, you're not really doing it. Paradoxical Outcome requires cheap artifacts to be super effective. However, it can be just a huge draw spell once you have a bunch of permanents that aren't tokens. But this deck isn't really designed to do that. Confiscation Coup, on the other hand, it can gain control of an artifact or creature, and it uses energy to do it. I think that's a perfect card for the deck. Okay, now let's go see if we can play this deck. Okay, so it looks like they've enforced the banned list. I'm actually very, very annoyed by that. I don't like them banning the cards for Singleton too. I really like them. But it looks like they're using the standard ban list in Singleton. Good to know. They didn't last time. They are this time. Let's go see if we can win some games with this deck. I believe our quest today is on red and blue spells, and that's how we can earn extra gold with red and blue spells. We have both in the deck. We also have a lot of artifacts that kind of takes away from it, but I still think that completing this Singleton event, we will be able to get our gold quest as well for the day. Yeah, we've got our colors and we've got some plays. I think this is the kind of hand we're looking for. We also have the Tezzeret's Touch Servo Schematic. A combo. This becomes a 5/5, then when it dies, you get a 1/1. It comes back to your hand and you get another 1/1. It's just a little tasty, tasty bit of value. We'll have to draw an untapped land. So far, no good. But I'm going to pursue the highest upside and hope to top deck an untapped land. If I don't, I have to take turn 3 off, which is sad. But I think that making this play for the max upside is the best way to go. As for Told, oh boy, this is a very complicated card, I would say. We didn't top deck that land, sadness. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a time counter on it once a turn, and that goes for each turn. You can pay 0 rather than the mana cost of a spell. So I'm looking at some mono blue control deck, I think. Let's go for the highest upside play. Let's just be aggressive. Ooh, it worked. I actually didn't expect it to work. I expected counter spells. I've been conditioned. I've expected disallow. But that's why you go for it. Some amount of the time, it's right to just go for it. You don't really know till you try. So Tezzeret's Touch turns the Servo Schematic into a 5/5. Our opponent just took control of it with Entrancing Melody. Well, that's interesting. We could shoot it down with the Unlicensed Disintegration. Our opponent takes 3. Servo Schematic comes back to our hand. This says, when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless servo token. I think what I actually want to do is stall to Confiscation Coup it back, because I don't want my opponent to have the servo. I also don't want to use a removal spell unless I have to. So we can Whirler Virtuoso, we can Treasure Keeper, we can Aether Sphere Harvester. I think the Harvester, getting it in the air, making some energy, getting some lifelink going is the best play. I'm gonna let my opponent attack me with the 5/5. I actually think I can still outrace my opponent, so that's fine. I wonder why I don't think my opponent used the As Foretold to cast the Melody. Well, if they did, that would be right, but just to know that they had the option, they could have. No, they could not, because they have to pay 2. This costs 4. Okay. Ignore me. Sometimes I deserve to be ignored. Opponent not attacking at all with this schematic. What does that tell us? D'ing up against a 1/1 doesn't seem like a very wise play, so there must be something else going on here. Let's power up the Harvester and see what our opponent does. I wouldn't be surprised if something bad happens to this Harvester, but it has very high toughness, and our opponent playing blue and red is difficult to deal with. Nothing bad happened. Alright, well, we have plenty of options, and I'm going to go for the Treasure Keeper. Just use up the most of my mana. Whirler Virtuoso, though, making a flyer when my opponent's at 9 might be stronger, but in the face of open mana, I don't expect it to live. So yeah, we're going to go for the Treasure Keeper. And our opponent still doesn't seem to have plays, which is very strange. Especially with a card like As Foretold, where it seems like you should be making plays all over the place. Alright, they need a big turn, and it looks like they found a Bladewing. They're playing it for free off the As Foretold for 4, then they're paying the 3 to kick it, to make 2 4/4s. Okay, how do we want to deal? Well, we have 5 mana, we have Unlicensed Disintegration, and we have Aether Meltdown, so dealing is actually pretty easy. We could also steal one of them. I still think I'd rather have the schematic back, attack with it, say he double blocks. I could also attack with Treasure Keeper and the 1/1 if he blocks those. I don't really care about losing the 1/1. Treasure Keeper gets me a card. 5/5 takes my opponent to 4, which is almost dead. They could have another 4-drop to play with As Foretold as an instant, but the thing that comes to mind is Glimmer of Genius, which doesn't change the board. Let my opponent know that I'm thinking. It is a complicated spot. And yeah, I think what I want to do is use my mana, coup back the schematic. Okay. And then, let's see, we can power this up too instead of attacking with the 1/1, and we can attack with everybody. Because the opponent would have to double block this to kill it, and losing it would be sad, but we get in plenty of damage. Oh wait, I've made a mistake. This cannot attack because of the summoning sickness of bringing it back. For some reason I missed that, and that doesn't seem like something I should normally miss. Not something I'd normally miss. Maybe because it's an enchanted artifact? I don't know how to make excuses for that one. I missed that one, and that's not in character. I will do better. Mirari Conjecture. Uh-oh. But no instants in the graveyard, so it doesn't exactly pay off right here. So next turn they get back the Enchanting Melody, so we have to have a really good turn. Okay, let's start by seeing if Unlicensed Disintegration resolves. Well, we could bait. Like, I would much rather the Unlicensed resolve than the Meltdown. Let's see what happens. Resolves easy peasy. Doesn't look like our opponent has a counterspell. So normally I'd play Aether Meltdown in combat because it has flash and because it sort of blows up our opponent's spot, so to speak. But in this case, I'd much rather bait first, as I'm putting it, and I want to do that before blocks because we don't want our opponent to block and then Unlicensed Disintegration their creature because they get to prevent the damage. So it was kind of a weird spot where normally I'd Aether Meltdown much later, but I just wanted to see if my opponent would react to it. All right, we did get a pack, which we'll open soon, and some gold, and we got our first win. Crafting day will be tomorrow. If you guys are waiting to see how we open our week's worth of packs in gold and upgrade our red-black deck, that will be tomorrow's video. So come back. Be ready to check it out. I plan to do it at the end of every week that we're doing this series, is use our wild cards and buy some packs with our extra gold and see how many good decks and fun decks we can create in like a month or so of playing this format. It's honestly pretty nice. I would say that the economy's become so much better than it started. From where it started to where it is now, don't let anybody know I said this. I almost fear it's too generous right now, but I think a part of what is making me feel this way is the free cards we receive from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt. Because honestly, Kaladesh and Aether Revolt is such a strong set. Receiving so many free cards from it, it's I think pushing everything to, it's pushing these starter decks to be much stronger and competitive than they'll be probably in open beta. Now, I don't know what the economy will look like in open beta. This is all speculation, and it could be very different from what I'm talking about. So there's no need to go nuts theorizing too hard. All right, we'll play the Whirler Virtuoso. It can make a Thopter, which produces 2 blockers, and against red, that's very good, putting multiple bodies onto the battlefield to get in front of their creatures. The exception is a Goblin Chain Whirler, but in Singleton, they only have 1 Chain Whirler, so you don't have to be as nervous about making multiple bodies and creatures. Aether Sphere Harvester will join the fray. That's a very frustrating creature, of course. We use it ourselves. It's very strong. Looks like our opponent is not going to attack this turn, since they use their mana on the Harvester before combat. And what I need to do is make a Thopter, and the Thopter is going to help us improvise out Maverick Thopterist, possibly Herald of Anguish if we get that far, as long as the opponent doesn't kill it. So I'm curious right now if the opponent's going to use a Fanatical Firebrand on this Thopter or not. They didn't. Okay, so we'll play this land. We play that. Okay, we could play the Caravan, but then we wouldn't play other things. I think playing Saheeli Rai isn't as good until we have other creatures on the battlefield. And if we play the Thopterist, it's possible we'll have enough improvised power to play Herald of Anguish next turn. So as it says here, improvise makes your artifacts cast less if you tap, or it makes, I'm sorry, I said that all wrong. This spell costs less if you tap an artifact to pay its cost. Same thing here with this Thopterist. So we only have 3 mana available right now, and this costs 5. But since we also have 2 artifacts, 3 plus 2, 5. You have to do a bit of manual tapping to do it. Yep. And there we go. Opponent's getting a little impatient. It's fine. It's fair. I want to tell him that I was thinking or something. Hopefully that isn't seen as BM, but now I'm attempting to pass the turn. If we do untap, what do we need to play this? We need, so this can do black, this can do black. And then we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need at least 2 of our Thopters to survive the turn, and we can play our Herald of Anguish, an improvised flying 5/5 demon that makes our opponent discard cards. We can also sacrifice artifacts to -2/-2 other creatures, so it can kill a lot of creatures. And that's what we're going for. Now, in order to get there, I think we have to take a hit from this Aether Sphere Harvester. Bless me. Oh my. Whew. So that was a massive sneeze. I think I hit mute in time to not kill your ears, but if you're wondering what is CGB doing, that is the answer. Massive sneeze. So our opponent attacking with the Chaser implies that they have a spell that can kill the Whirler Virtuoso. We could take the damage and keep our Virtuoso. I don't have a lot of other energy outlets right now, or anything to do with extra energy at the moment, so I think blocking is fine. We'll let our opponent use a shock or something of that nature. We could have double blocked. I think that's really risky if our opponent has a built to smash. Okay, they're going to shock over there. Interesting. They must have another cheap damage effect, or they just shot the wrong thing. I thought that they planned to first strike damage here and shock this to kill this. It's definitely a better target. Ah, there is an Invigorated Rampage. Okay. Our opponent's going pretty ham. They're hitting us about as hard as they can, is the impression I'm getting here. If they are out of spells and effects for their red aggro Singleton, they're going to have a hard time dealing with the demon. So we could take a damage and use Spire of Industry to make our black mana. We have one black right here for free. We could also use Prophetic Prism to make the black mana. And we could do it with... The thing about that is we have to tap it, right? So we can't improvise with it, which means we wouldn't have one of our Thopters untapped. But I don't think that matters, because our opponent has the Fanatical Firebrand to take out a Thopter anyway. So I think we'll use this for black mana. And tap our little Thopter army. And we'll see if our opponent can find a way to kill this card next turn. We'll play our land for turn and say go. At 5/5, it's a daunting force. Our opponent will have to discard a card on end step. And here comes that effect. Hopefully we get a spell, not a land. We are setting our opponent up for an interesting turn where... Oh, wow. They just discarded Goblin Chain Whirler when I have 3 Thopters on the battlefield. So their last card must be something that can help them kill the Herald, or else that wouldn't happen. Fight with fire. Yep. Well, still, getting rid of that Chain Whirler is a pretty big deal, as we'd be all out of blockers without it. We're going to take a punch this turn, though. See if our opponent makes a 1/1. I would. I don't think their energy used with this Harvester matters as much as having threats on the board. And now that our opponent can't sweep our board up with Chain Whirler, I would definitely make a 1/1 with my Aether Chaser in that spot, which lets you pay 2 energy to make a servo when it attacks. Alright, down to 7. That's quite the draw. But it doesn't shore up the board. We could make more Thopters, but I don't feel like we're solving our problems. Opponent giving us the nice. They're very proud of themselves. So I need to stabilize a little more, and then Tezzeret can start drawing us a bunch of cards. Or we could just play it and start drawing the cards now. The other option is I can play this Ballista, which can clean up the board a little bit, but our opponent will still have the Harvester, so we're under pressure no matter what. Being at 7, and now with that Chain Whirler in the graveyard, so I don't have to worry about these dying, I think that drawing the cards is a good idea. If we start drawing 2 cards a turn, we can find solutions to this board. The thing that we don't have an answer to right now is the Harvester. So if I can find another big flying thing or a way to remove it, that's what we really need. So draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2. That's what we're going for.
You're still
and there's some answers. That is beautiful. Beautiful. Not only that, our opponent has to decide if they're going to attack us or attack the Tezzeret. I almost want my opponent to play a creature with more toughness so I can gain more life with this Gearhulk. Of course, we still need to find a land as well. But if we're drawing 3 cards a turn, 2 with Tezzeret and 1 for our draw step, that shouldn't be too hard to find another land. I'm really glad right now we didn't take a damage with this Prophetic Prism, though. Although I guess I could have chumped with a Thopter, but now I'm really glad I have the Thopters. Now I'm pretty happy with everything this game, because the Thopters are needed at the moment. And our opponent's not attacking with the Harvester at all. I'm stunned. Maybe they forgot to crew it. Maybe they clicked too far. Now they're pivoting and attacking face. I will block. We already saw Invigorated Rampage, which gives +4/+0 and trample. There's another card called Built to Smash that gives +3/+3 and trample, but only to artifacts. So it won't work with the Chaser. So I'm not concerned about some instant speed trample effect getting me here. Trample, of course, meaning that extra damage goes to me. And like they would, instead of like the 1/1 would only absorb 1 damage and all the extra damage would hit me. As it is with normal blocking without trample, the 1/1 blocks and it's blocked. No damage gets to you. All right, let's draw some more cards. We still have 3 artifacts. Our opponent could sacrifice his Firebrand in response.
Of course.
Okay, Battle at the Bridge. Things are really turning around for us. But what's the play? A Walking Ballista is just like, I can sweep my opponent's whole board. That seems really strong. So that's the play I'm going to make here. There's a lot of good plays. Battle at the Bridge obviously looks charming, but it's my only Tezzeret solution, and I guarantee that this player has Tezzeret somewhere in the deck. I think I'll... I can Wrath the board now, or I can try to Wrath it next turn. The thing is, crewing the Harvester is like my main concern. If I take these out, my opponent has to play another creature to kill the Harvester, so I'm going to at least pass a phase, see if my opponent wants to make a play. Go to my end step. I'm going to mark it, though, so I can do stuff in my end step. Opponent's thinking about using this Firebrand. Ah, Shivan Fire. Alright, well, we need to make our plays right now. Remove the counter, kill the Chaser. If we let that damage resolve, Ballista would be dead. Well, it got kicked as well, so the opponent was dealing 4 damage to the Ballista here. So it was going down. But now we get to take out all of our opponent's creatures. They can crew in response with the Harvester, perhaps thinking that they can block our Thopters if we decide to attack, which is a fine play and smart. Now we'll remove the last one and go after this Firebrand. Firebrand will most certainly sacrifice to either damage me or kill one of my Thopters. All according to plan. And no attacks. It would go to its death. But our opponent has no more gas, and we are stocked. We are ready to rumble. Brazen Scourge. That has haste, and it can crew the Harvester. So we're likely to chump here with a Thopter. But Noxious Gearhulk can come down, take out the Scourge, gain us some life. Now, we don't have to chump with a Thopter. We could draw another 2 cards with Tezzeret, but our hand is already so good. I don't feel like I need more cards to play. I feel like I need to make sure I have time to play them. And if I do, I'm confident I can win. So we're going to use this turn. We're going to make a Thopter token instead.
I made you a gift.
And then we're going to deploy our Noxious Gearhulk and take out the Brazen Scourge. That's going to put us up to 10. And now we have 3 artifacts back on the board. Our opponent says, oops, they draw another land. That must be very frustrating. Now we can draw 2 cards. Why not?
Let's see how you respond to genius.
Indeed. Let's see. We can play... So I'm thinking we get out like our Caravan, our Puzzleknot, and our Bomat Couriers so that Metalwork Colossus can come down next turn. And I believe that combined with this attack and possibly a copied version with Saheeli Rai. And we can kill our opponent. If we're going to make that play anyway, we'll play the Puzzleknot first, see what we draw. And it's a Servo Schematic. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, we'll play that as well. Alright. Might as well play it out first main because nothing's going to change anymore with the game state. Our opponent has no cards in hand and no plays they can make. For proper sequencing, play your spells mostly after combat, but in cases where it doesn't matter, I just try to do things quickly, move the game along. Our opponent missing on their land again. All right. Or not missing on their land, but drawing a land. There is Metalwork Colossus. Here's Saheeli Rai.
Behold new wonders.
Copy the Colossus.
Because one is never enough.
Because one is never enough. Crew over here. 16, 21. Yep. And there we go. You can turn them sideways and get them. And our opponent's been nice, so we'll say good game to our opponent. Hopefully they don't feel that's BM. It was an interesting battle and very scary at times. If I were analyzing it from my opponent's side, maybe that turn where they used their burn spells and pump spells to get a very small amount of damage through instead of kind of picking away at me with the Harvester might have been a turn that they could have handled differently. The turn where they cast Shock on my 2/2, which wasn't doing much, and Invigorated Rampage was used to get through the Virtuoso. They had reason to be confident. They had a Goblin Chain Whirler and a Fight with Fire in hand. I really think I would have just played the Chain Whirler and killed the Thopters and saved my pump spells and my burn spells. Anyway, moving on to this game, it's one of those really tough hands where if we draw land off the top, we can have a turn 4 like Tezzeret, and we have a removal spell, and we have like everything we need. We have a potential card advantage source, like it's all here. But what if we don't draw that land? These are the hands that get me in trouble. But I'm going to keep it, and I'm gonna hope. I'm gonna have faith in the deck. It doesn't want to disappoint me. It wants me to look good on camera. It wants me to have an awesome YouTube account that people enjoy watching. Oh no. Don't take the Caravan. Please don't take the Caravan. Oh no, turn 1 duress. It's working. I'm under duress. I'm legitimately... Can I make that face? There are needles coming at my eye, and I'm an elf, and it's really weird. There's a lot of faces you can make under duress. Unlicensed. So that tells me our opponent has a very strong creature they wish to protect. And now that I don't have a removal spell, I shall live in fear of it. But we've got to just move things along. In the meantime, we drew a land. Bright side. Always look on the bright side of life. Do-do. 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 The ups and downs. All right, Knight of Malice. We don't have any white cards, so this is going to stay unless our opponent plays one, a 2/2 first strike, which it's okay. It's fine. I think we can play cards that are more powerful than that. In fact, I'm sure we can. Tezzeret the Schemer getting ready to come out. Our opponent knows about these two, so curious to see what they do with the knowledge of what we have in our hand. Sometimes you can learn a lot from how your opponent plays with the knowledge of what you have, as well as from what they pick with their duress. But sometimes that's just not useful information. Sometimes the opponent is going along without a long plan. Vampire Neonate. 1 black, 0/3. 2 tap. Each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Alrighty. Cool art. Big time art props. And it looks like our opponent is a black aggro Singleton deck, which I can't say I've seen before. I do think that Singleton is a format that rewards you for playing strong cards, like cards that are just individually very powerful. And I think in that world, in that environment, you really don't want to play one color. I think it's wise to play multiple colors. I really do. I feel very strongly about that. All right. We got a Virtuoso to take on these small black creatures, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have Murder or something of that nature. Singleton is a format where I feel like 2-color decks are fine, and 3-color decks are where you can get a really high concentration of powerful cards. So most of my Singleton decks tend to be 3-color. Most of my standard decks, even once I've unlocked my collection, tend to be 2-color. And most of my beginner decks that I have the most success with tend to be 1-color. You don't have to stick to those things. This isn't a commandment. I'm just telling you my experience. So let's see what our opponent does. So we played Virtuoso instead of Tezzeret the Planeswalker because Tezzeret doesn't do a good job protecting Tezzeret. He can -2 to give a creature -X/-X, where X is our artifact count, which is 2, which could have killed either of these. But then the opponent would be able to kill Tezzeret if they had any way to increase the power of one of their creatures. And I would rather protect Tezzeret with our friend, the Whirler Virtuoso. So that's why Virtuoso was played first. Oh boy, what's this mean? Well, I'm going to block. I'm nervous about it. Our opponent must have some kind of trick. I blocked the Walking Corpse. And the reason for that is just that if the opponent had like a... actually, I don't know. The Walking Corpse just felt better. If the opponent had a pump, I'd die either way. But if it was a pump that only pumped power, at least I would trade with the Walking Corpse and this knight would kill me. Yeah, that must be the subconscious thing that happened in my brain. More likely there's a Fatal Push. Oh, a Plague Mare. Oh, that's interesting, because if I use my energy to make a Thopter, it will die. I did not think about a Plague Mare, but there you have it. Alright, we'll end the turn. Another land off the top. I think I'm going to spend this turn on Glimmer of Genius, and I can do it now. There isn't a lot I can play for 1 mana, or 2 mana. Actually, there is a lot I can play for 2 mana. I have a Caravan, I remember. So, yeah, I'll Glimmer now and see what I find. I have a Scrapheap Scrounger. That can crew the Caravan. A Mountain, which we do need red mana, but as long as we have the Caravan, we're safe. It might be prudent to take the Mountain, but I'm going to be greedy instead and try to draw something else. Something more effective. Saheeli Rai. Don't think you count. So there is a creature in our graveyard. I think what I'm going to do is discard the Scrounger, draw an extra card next turn, because if I played the Scrounger, it wouldn't be able to block anyway. At least this way I can look like I have more action. But if I discard Scrounger to Key to the City, I can get it out of the graveyard using the Scrounger's ability, and I can draw an extra card with Key to the City. And again, try to find solutions to these small creatures. I think the main way I need to handle them is just by playing something bigger and stronger. I'm not going to remove all of them. I don't have the means. It's not in my deck. So Yahenni has haste, and it's going to pile on a little bit more damage. Alright, Opponent not using attack with all button. I can't imagine why. So we don't actually need to choose a creature to gain unblockable with the key. We're just going to discard the Scrounger. Saheeli Rai is another card that does not protect herself pretty much at all. She's kind of just a little lightning rod. Go ahead and kill me. By protecting theirself, we usually mean kill another creature or make a creature. And we'll bring this out. Again, don't think it matters unless my opponent Fatal pushes it to pump the Yahenni, so maybe I should have waited till after combat. This is just another attempt at me speeding the game up. Okay, shall we pay and draw the card? It's a land. It's a land. And a tapped one at that. Brutal. Okay, Prophetic Prism. Well, I think it's time to play Tezzeret and minus to kill the Yahenni. Unfortunately, because it's a tap land, I can't play Tezzeret, kill the Yahenni, and then protect it with a Caravan. The other option is to play the Prism, draw a card, and then try to defend my life total with a Caravan, which is bad because there's a Neonate on the board. I'm going to get hit though. Let's see. If I defend it with a Caravan, it's kind of the same thing as if I defend it with Tezzeret. In both cases, I stop one creature, the other two get in, I go to 6, and there's a Neonate. At least if I put the Prism on the board, and I play my tap land, maybe my next turn can be better. Yeah, I think perhaps, and I get one of their creatures off the board either way. The only thing is if they have a removal spell that's instant speed, my Caravan dies. I think I'm just going to have to take that risk. At least drawing a card, maybe I'll get closer to finding a good answer. Ooh. And then it happens. So now what I want to do is use Battle at the Bridge. I can play it for 4 because of the improvise. I'll gain 4 life and I'll kill the Yahenni. That is what I want to do. I could wait till next turn and I could gain 4 more life, but that's kind of the same thing since I take 4 anyway, right? Actually, no. But I don't want to spend a whole turn on it next turn, do I? I don't think so. I think I just need to do it now. Yahenni goes down. We also see the sick combo of using Improvise with Key to the City, which taps it, and then that lets us draw an extra card next turn. Now, if we targeted anything other than Yahenni with the Battle at the Bridge, our opponent could sacrifice that creature in response, and we wouldn't gain any life. So it was obvious that we had to target Yahenni there. Infectious Horror. Our opponent loves Grizzly Bears, that meaning 2/2s. Whenever the Infectious Horror attacks, each opponent loses 2 life. Oh boy. Alright, I think we need to pay this mana and draw this card. Saheeli still doesn't have a good target for a copy. And we still need to fix our situation. There's another good step towards doing that. Noxious Gearhulk is definitely something we want to copy. But we don't have the mana for it this turn, so it's Tezzeret time. Making the play we planned to make last turn. And we'll minus Tezzeret.
This will end badly for you.
Good to know. And take out the Infectious Horror.
My artifacts give them strength.
Because when it attacks, we lose 2 life, regardless of whether we are able to block it or not. And now we seem to be turning things around. We seem to have found our powerful cards by getting more time to dig into our deck. Things are working out. Drudge Sentinel. Our opponent just loves 2-power black creatures here in Quick Singleton. It's just, obviously the strategy is to overwhelm us with them and have more than we have of our large powerful cards, but that's the problem with powerful cards. They invalidate that strategy most of the time. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. When it dies, return the creature to your hand. Okay. We'll see if our opponent, now tapped out, is willing to attack into this 5/5 to try to force damage. It looks like they are. So we'll crew up with our Scrapheap Scrounger. Now, after attackers are declared but before blockers, then we'll click the block button and we'll get in front of the Plague Mare. And this will kill the Plague Mare. It will go back to their hand, so they can use it in the future. The Knight of Malice will do 2 damage, but it went at me, not at the Planeswalker, which was probably a mistake, and probably unintentional, to be fair to our opponent. And let's see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we draw a land, we can Gearhulk and copy Gearhulk. So let's see if we can do it, rather than discard a card to our Key to the City. And it worked. So +1, make an Ethereum Cell.
Serves me well.
We'll tap you for red mana and play Saheeli Rai. We'll tap the rest of our mana
What an interesting creature.
to play
Let's
Noxious
see how you
Gearhulk.
work.
To eat, we'll say, I guess it can go either way. I'll eat the Knight of Malice. We will minus Saheeli Rai to copy the
I believe
Noxious
in promoting
Gearhulk.
from within.
And I'll take out the Neonate because it gains more life with a higher toughness. And we'll move to combat and we'll attack with our 2 creatures. The token only lives till end of turn, so there's no reason not to attack with it. Thankfully it has haste. It will die though at the end of the turn no matter what we do. The Scrapheap Scrounger we're happy if our opponent wants to trade, because we might be able to get it back later if any of our creatures go to the graveyard. So we're perfectly happy to see it die. And this leaves us with 2 Planeswalkers and the only creature. Right where we want to be. Our opponent has a Plague Mare in hand, but it won't kill anything. A Ravenous Chupacabra, however, is about as good an answer as you can have. So the game goes on for a little bit. I don't want to discard this Heart of Kiran. I have Planeswalkers who can crew it. So Key to the City is going to hang out. Let's scry with Saheeli Rai.
Hurt a little.
Yes, more blockers is good. It's another one of those powerful effect cards, and I can play it this turn. And I can tap this for improvise. Yeah, it looks very nice. So here's a Puzzleknot. We'll draw the card. Here is Heart of Kiran. We will use Prophetic Prism to make a red mana off one of our blues. And we'll play this, and we'll tap for improvise all the things we can't use this turn. And we could tap the last of our mana, or we could leave it open. But we're going to get an Ethereum Cell, and actually that's the right play. I forgot about the Ethereum Cell, so we'll plus for the Ethereum Cell, and we'll tap that for improvise. And we can bring back the Scrounger with the Caravan. And we can do that on end step on our opponent's turn. So that's a good turn. That is a good turn doing a lot of things. Our opponent has the Plague Mare. They can get rid of the Thopters. It's annoying, but it's okay. Vampire Sovereign will make us lose 3 and our opponent will gain 3. Which makes me happy we increased our life total when we did. And our opponent's not going to kill the Thopters this turn. Here comes the attack. I feel a little dirty because it looks like I get to have a gotcha type moment with the vehicle. I never feel great about this. It's clearly a new player who doesn't know how the vehicles work, but we can turn them into 4/4s before blocking. And now you, new players, know how the vehicles work, so don't run into the vehicles. Mountain off the top. Aether Hub off the top. We can minus Tezzeret to kill the Sovereign, which is probably a good play. Then after that, well, let's see. We can copy a 5/5, do 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That will do. So let's minus here. This will kill the Sovereign.
More power.
Let's activate here and crew with Loyalty. All right, let's crew the Scrapheap Scrounger. Makes it a 5/5. Now, if we copy the vehicle, it will need to be crewed. And if we copy the Heart of Kiran, it's legendary. What, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And now I'm short one. So I missed my math. Because I don't have another way to crew this. Am I doing anything wrong here? What if I copy a Maverick Thopterist? That makes 2 Thopters. Can I kill this? Sacrifice it somehow? I don't see it. I'm going to sacrifice this Puzzleknot and see if I can find a way to do the extra point of damage this turn. Nope, didn't get there. All right. Since we can't finish them, let's just punch them as hard as we can. And we'll keep Saheeli on the battlefield, and plus for the scry.
Do I have your attention now?
That's a CM Punk line. CM Punk says that, WWE fans. Do I have your attention now that I came out here and dropped promos and demanded ice cream? I know I've got some WWE fans from the Enzo Amore love of a reference I made in the last video. Here comes Plague Mare. So this is, we don't need to do this. We're going to win the game. Being honest, and I don't mean to bad manners my opponent, but just to show you another what key to the city is for. So here at the end game, when we have too many lands in our hand, it makes sense to not even worry about the unblockability and to discard extra lands you don't need so that you can draw more cards with the key to the city on your turn. And it just helps you get through all those lands in your deck and draw more relevant things, in case anybody needed to know about that. What we're going to do here is we're going to give our Scrapheap Scrounger unblockable. And we're going to attack with it for lethal. Our opponent may have drawn a removal spell. If they did, you know, God bless them. We'll play another turn. We're so far ahead, I don't think it would matter. And that will finish this particular game with a little key to the city tutorial there. Rolling right along in Singleton, where we've got our 3rd win. If we get our 4th, we break even at least. Get every last drop. Keep that caffeine. Play that sharp magic. Although caffeine's not for everybody. If you're not on it and have plenty of energy and you game without it, don't start. That's my best advice. God bless you. Good for you. Well, do you like your hand, Mr. XAF6HBH? Oh, you jury. Let's try to say that. Zoff. Orange. Maybe that's how you'd say it. Go, Scorpion, go. Go, Scorpion. All right. No blue mana. But all the things I want to use. But kind of a mulligan to 5 because I have no blue mana. All right. Then you start down that rabbit hole. Where does it end? All right. Lands. Nope. Nope. We'll be okay. We just gotta find 2 lands. There it is again. More dress face. Stop dressing me. Stop it. Takes the Glimmer? Again, leaving the caravan when I'm in a precarious mana situation. Weird. That first hand was such a close hand. Looking back, of course you would have kept it. Of course we'd rather have it than the situation we're in now. Our opponent, is it really that hard? Is your turn 2 going that poorly? Whew. Come on, man. How am I going to get to 7 wins in Singleton if we're doing this? Turn 1 to rest, turn 2 rope? Who does that? What kind of a monster would do such a thing? Gifted Aetherborn. Alright, land off the top? Nope. So I'm going to leave. You also, I would encourage not to play those kind of games. Just kind of lowers the heart. Just kind of punches you in the feels. Just get out of there. Games where you miss your second land drop. Not worth it. Just happens. Part of the game. For better or worse. And the sooner I find that you get out of there rather than sit there and tilt harder, like seeing how deep in your deck you can go without drawing a land and thinking that the god hates you and that random is rigged and that the shuffler is broken, I find that those people are just more and more negative. Whereas if you can just get into another game, you can get over that stuff pretty fast. Give yourself something productive to do. Like, a game where you have more that play going on. There's more where you can make more plays. All right, we're in a similar situation, except this time I feel like the cards I'm playing are better. So we have 3 playable cards. One of them is aggressive. One of them can draw more cards. And the other is a removal spell. We didn't have a removal spell last time. If last time we had played Heart of Kiran and then Filigree Familiar, but never drawn something else to play or the mana source we needed, our hand would have done nothing. This hand does something. Whether we draw a red source or not, we can kill something, we can play 2 threats. So I'm going to keep this hand. And that's, like, you might think it's just like the last hand, but it's just a little bit different, and I wanted to be able to tell you exactly, like, what I'm looking at that makes me feel that way. Well, yeah, Singleton mono red. Okay. Well, the Siphoner is very likely to die. There's not a lot I can do to change that, and I don't want to block with it either. So I'm going to play the Scrounger. Even though, like, the best thing this can do is improvise, and next turn I can use Battle at the Bridge on the Kari Zev. Rakvan, a girl and her monkey, causing chaos everywhere she goes, and a Chain Whirler. Well, that was another good reason not to play the Siphoner, but this is just like playing up against a standard deck. Super try-hard. Now we have a tough choice, because we could kill the Chain Whirler, or we could kill the Kari Zev. And both are legit problems. And I think it's going to be the Chain Whirler. The Karizev is cheaper if we get to a point where we coup it. Harness Lightning takes out any of it. It's tough, but yeah, we'll take out Chains. So we'll target Chain Whirler, we'll tap our Scrapheap Scrounger for Improvise to make sure we get to 3. Gain us some life, hopefully buy us some time. We'll see just how much pressure our opponent drew, and wow. This is kind of a joke. This is, I mean, this is a curve that when it happens in Standard, you're like, okay, they have 4 of each of those. Our opponent with 1 of each in their deck, this is what they drew. It's very frustrating. We'll put out our little Siphoner. We'll attack with our Scrounger, because it can't do anything else. And it does look like we're never going to find that red source that we needed. At least that would have made the game a little more interesting. If we had been able to harness lightning away something and save our Battle at the Bridge, take out the Tezzeret, but that doesn't look like a reasonable expectation here. Or at least the Gremlins goes in the deck. I guess you have to make some concessions to be Singleton. It's nice when they pay off perfectly. Well, Tezzeret can't attack this turn, that's something. But it does mean that our opponent has... Well, I guess it could be more land. They could have more land in their hand. Alright, please draw me a mountain. Denied. I can't spend time drawing cards, I don't think. But getting back Scrapheap Scrounger doesn't do anything. So we block here. 5, down to 8, down to 7, draw a card. Play a land, call it a mountain. Harness Lightning, takes out Karizev. Our opponent untaps. We block here if they don't remove anything. They pay 2. We're down to 5. We chump block what? We don't even have a chump blocker at that point for the Tezzeret, so we have to block here. So we go to 3, and our opponent has a Tezzeret. That's bad too. Just thinking out my plays a little bit in advance. If it's hard to follow, I'm sorry. Just trying to think if there's a point to playing this Key to the City or getting back Scrapheap Scrounger instead, because at least Scrapheap Scrounger could crew a vehicle if we drew it. Yeah, I think I have to bank on drawing a vehicle, but then I'm going to lose anyway, right? Yeah, I lose anyway. No, I have to be at least prepared to draw further into the deck. But man, what I really need to play is this Virtuoso and into this Confiscation queue. So this doesn't matter. I may as well get it on the battlefield, but it doesn't matter. And I'll go ahead and attack with this Glint-Sleeve Siphoner to give me more shots at hitting what I need to hit. But I'm dead to like a lot of things. It's all bad. None of this is gonna probably get me where I need to go, and I know that, but we gotta try. That's what you have to do. You have to make some tough decisions even when you know they aren't likely to work out, and you have to try. You could also concede. It is an option, but I try to only do that in situations where it really is pointless to keep playing. Chronicler. If it was kicked, you could return something, but you don't want to, so you can attack with Tezzeret. Okay. There's an attack with all button, if you're just going to attack with all. Just saying. So our opponent makes some concessions to being a red Singleton deck, running cards like Release the Gremlins and Get You Chronicler. But it's nice when you can go Karizev into Chain Whirler into Tezzeret. The only thing missing was his Bomat Courier. And Flame of Keld. To reload. Yeah. Must be nice. I drew very well in an earlier game. I don't think my very, very well drawing in that game prior, where I top decked like the Gearhulk and things like that, and the Tezzeret into the Gearhulk into the unlicensed. I don't think that has anything on this guy. I don't think that has anything on this draw. I think I'd still be smashed by a draw like this. So we still haven't drawn a red source. Now what we need is an untapped land off the top, and Confiscation Q on Tezzeret is our best chance. And I still don't think that'll get us there through the Flame of Keld. So we'll play this Ballista. Our opponent will draw 2 cards. Probably light me on fire with them. It's not been a good game at all. Our opponent just kind of pumping themselves up on this one. Very, very proud of themselves. So happy. So impressed. So impressed with themselves. We can hope they forget Exert. If we kill this now, then we block here. We take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, and then he has to remember to use a Tezzeret. So it's more likely him forgetting to Exert or him forgetting to use a Tezzeret. Neither. I'm just going to leave. I'm not interested in any more. Good game. Not interested in his garbage anymore. But it's okay. It's okay. If you want to play mono red in Singleton, it's not the end of the world. There's nothing here that says don't play mono red. I still don't like it. I think you have to get really lucky to do what he did. I think that 3 colors. I hope they make an event. This is a good idea. I hope they make an event where the minimum is 3 colors. Like legitly 3 colors. It would be very nice. Now, fair, I say that I usually play 3-color Singleton decks. What preys on 3-color decks? Monocolor fast decks like mono red. They prey on those decks because their mana is usually not perfect, and our mana was not perfect that game at all. You know, we spent that whole game what you could call mana screwed. And now I'm going to keep this hand just because I have the right mana, because I'm shell-shocked, because I haven't been able to see the right mana in about 3-4 hands now in a row, counting the mulligans in the last game. So there is a strategic reason to play mono red. It is the right thing, strategic tryhard wise, if everybody is trying to do what you would call cool fun stuff to foil it. I'm just a little bit like if I'm gonna play mono red, can I at least get my mana? Can I get my mana to work a little? All right. Shake it off. Next game. All right. Vehicle into vehicle. Not the way you want to do it, because we have nothing to crew these yet. But we're working on it. We're working on it. Our opponent's first play is an aerial responder, a 2/3 vigilance lifelink. Oh no. Not the dreaded vehicle into vehicle into vehicle. I think that's most of our vehicles. I think there's still a Sky Sovereign, but that's it. And honestly, if we had Sky Sovereign, that would be way better. But Johnny's welcome. Okay. For anybody who might think I got a little salty there and was too rude, I challenge you not to get curved out on mono red with something like a Karizev Chain Whirler Tezzeret thing in Singleton and not feel a little salty. I don't think it's possible. I think if you're not a little salty after that, like what's going on here? All right, Noxious Gearhulk ramped into it. That's a pretty good draw. And we'll crew it up with the Heart of Kiran to do the most damage we can to our opponent this turn. Our opponent will tick up the Triumph, but they have nothing to target, which is kind of the evil plot. Now, when the Triumph goes off next turn, target creature with the greatest power will gain Flying, First Strike, and Lifelink, but they have to play a creature, or else the Triumph will do nothing. And it looks like they have a life gain deck, is what I'm getting from this. So what payoffs will they be able to find for it? They don't have anything for their Triumph, which is... honestly, that's sad. I wouldn't want to be in that spot. It would bum me out. Let's play the Master of Metal, a card I've never... I almost never get to use. I have used it before, but it's because I took it from my opponent's deck with a Gonti. So, gain control of all artifacts and creatures targeted player controls is the -8, -3. Your opponent loses life equal to the number of artifacts you control. That's pretty good too. And +1 is reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. So yes, I would like to draw an artifact. Sounds awesome. And it looks like we'll have a Metalspinner's Puzzleknot. The cards revealed are what was between the top of your deck and the Puzzleknot, and then they go on the bottom. And now we can crew this with our Master of Metal. So we don't have to tap the Gearhulk to do it, and we can slam for 9. The opponent is in a lot of trouble. They need a big turn. Do they have a big play? Our Promise, they don't have any deserts. It's not going to get them zombies, so it's just a ramp card, which means the door's open if I can kill them. I think I can with some crewing shenanigans. I think I have the win. Our opponent with 1 mana, what could they have? Can't think of anything. Can't think of anything. Alright, land, Contraband Kingpin. Crew, Aether Harvester. Crew, Cultivator's Caravan. Vehicles crewing vehicles. Yes, it can be done. Yes, it's ridiculous. Heart of Kiran crewed up. Combat. And we could have also used the Tezzeret -3 to hit for lethal there as well. But, job done. Another... looks like a... I'm not clear where that deck was really going. Looked like some kind of life gain themed deck, but then the Hour of Promise implied ramp. You have to believe they didn't make their deck come together. So History Lesson is our new unlocked cards in deck. We'll take a look at that in a minute. How are we doing on time? Maybe I'll have to save some of this for next time. Yeah, we are over an hour. So Singleton games can take time. We're going to leave it there. Let's go to our packs and crack them really quick. Nothing really important down here. But our rare is going to be a Mistcaller. I think that's our second one. It's one of those feels bad rares that isn't very useful. And then let's have a look at the History Lesson deck that we just got for any good rares that might be in there. So, travel, no, not really good. But 2 Seal Away is very nice and it gives us some white removal spells that work very well. These are things I would have definitely crafted some uncommon wildcards on. So this is awesome. Aether's Gateway is an interesting mythic, and it's okay, but I don't think it's as good as these. Thematic Compass and Treasure Map can be very helpful, so I'm happy to see those. Blackblade Reforged is interesting if you do a Legends deck. Maybe it will work on this deck, but as some people point out with the Kicker deck, I'm very likely to take out a lot of the theme and putting just cards that are generically good. It's just my tendency as a player. Master Thopterist, I think that's our second one as we build up towards that Storm deck someday, maybe. And none of the rest of these are particularly great. Let's see what's over here. Daring Archaeologist, Tashar. It's kind of a neat little synergy card, but nobody's really figured out how to make it awesome yet. Wrath can be fun. Traxos can be fun. The Antiquities War can be very fun. We can make a deck around it. I already have a video of an Antiquities War black-blue build on the channel. Icy, Spell Swindle, But we get a Glacial Fortress, which is one of the better cards in the whole thing, as we get to keep adding those rare dual lands to make our mana better. And we have a Field of Ruin, which can be very nice. All right. So some good essentials packed into that History Lesson. Well, gonna leave it there. Tomorrow we'll craft this. Perhaps we'll finish up our Singleton run. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope you're at least a little interested in trying out Singleton. Shake off those tough losses to the mono reds when they just have the right cards. Try to, spit a little salt, shake it off. shake off those mulligans when things just aren't going your way. It happens too. And get back in there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.